When large animals find themselves in distress, they require significant assistance, and few creatures are larger than a killer whale. Thus, when one of these magnificent creatures became stranded on a beach in Netherlands, an extensive operation was initiated to return it to the ocean. Various organizations joined forces, all aware of the ticking clock. Little did they anticipate the events that would unfold once the Orca was successfully returned to the sea. Lonneke IJsseldijk, a young researcher at Utrecht University, originally wanted to become a doctor to help save human lives when she started her studies. However, as time passed, she became increasingly passionate about animals. It bothered her when animals were used in experiments, so she decided to change her career path and specialize in animal medicine. She had been working at Utrecht University for several years now, where her research had helped heal numerous animals that regular veterinarians couldn't or wouldn't treat. However, on this particular day, her career was about to take a dramatic turn. One cold Tuesday morning in October, Lonneke followed her usual routine. She arrived at the university early to avoid traffic, made herself a cup of coffee, and began working on reports and paperwork. It wasn't the most exciting part of her job, but she understood its importance. Little did she know that this day would lead to the most significant assignment of her career, with far-reaching consequences for one of the largest sea creatures. It all started with a phone call. It was the police station down in Kazan, more than 2 hours away from her university. At first, they just wanted to confirm who she was and that she worked at the Faculty of Veterinary Medicine at the university. She confirmed this and nodded along, even though they couldn't see her over the call. Lonneke always wanted to help, and if the police were calling her, it must have been something important. She was beginning to get worried. Had someone in her family been injured, or had somebody been arrested? As the conversation went on, though, the policeman's questions began to confuse her. He asked her how much knowledge she had of sea life, and whether she considered herself an expert. After a few more puzzling questions, Lonneke asked the man directly, "Can I ask what you are calling about?" That's when the police officer told her something startling. Some tourists had been taking a morning stroll a couple of hours earlier and had been shocked by what they had found on the beach. They had initially thought it was some kind of boat, but as they'd gotten closer, they had seen that it was moving. Its skin looked smooth like plastic wrapping, and the color was black and white. What had surprised them the most was how big the thing was. It looked to be more than 5 meters, 16 feet. Not knowing what to do, they had called the police, and when the officers had arrived on the scene, they had immediately known it was best to call in the experts. On a quiet beach in New Zealand, those people had stumbled upon an orca, one that needed help and quickly. Lonneke couldn't believe it. She told the policemen to call the fire department and have them bring a truck with a hose if one could be spared. From there, she would do the rest, and she knew exactly what to do. As soon as she put down the phone, she picked it up again and dialed the number of the Royal Dutch Rescue Company. They were the experts in these situations, and they would have the equipment to get the orca back into the sea. After the rescue company was informed of the situation, she picked up the phone again. This time she phoned SOS Dolphin, who had helped dozens of beached animals in the past. Then, Lonneke wrote a note to her colleagues, left it on her desk, and rushed back to her car to head to Zealand. Once she arrived, she found a group of people watching from the shore. Everyone was concerned about the orca but had no idea what to do. As Lonneke got out of the car, a woman approached her. "Are you the researcher from Utrecht University?" she asked. Lonneke confirmed and met the lady's outstretched hand. She then introduced herself as the mayor of the area, Marga Vermeer. She filled Lonneke in as they walked towards the beach. The Royal Dutch Rescue Company was on their way, and in the meantime, the fire department had been spraying the orca with water, just like Lonneke suggested. As they descended from the hill of the road, Lonneke finally spotted the animal. It was like a big blob of darkness sticking out of the wet sand. Orcas rarely ventured this close to the beach, so something must have been terribly wrong. Occasionally, they beached themselves to hunt for seals, but there weren't many around this part of Zealand. This was a question that Lonneke had investigated before, but there just wasn't enough data to come to any solid conclusions. In the next 24 hours, Lonneke had a chance to solve the mystery. As she got closer to the scene, she saw the large creature moving. Its skin was shiny, and she could even see her reflection in its eyes. The orca seemed confused. More than a dozen people were there, trying to help by pushing the orca back into the sea. But it was so heavy that they needed more help to save it. Then the rescue team arrived with a small crane. They went into the water and began working. They tied a rope around the orca's body so the crane could lift it. When they lifted the orca, it moved around in the air. The orca could be out of the water for a few minutes without a problem, but Lanik was worried about how long it had been stuck there. The crane kept moving further into the sea, and everyone helped guide the orca's body back to where it belonged. It was a massive effort, and they moved slowly, bit by bit. After more than 10 minutes, the water was deep enough for the orca to swim on its own. The rescuers untied the ropes and set the orca free. When it felt its own weight again, it sank towards the seafloor. But then it slowly found the strength to push itself off the sand and swim by itself. Lanik and everyone else watched as the orca swam away. The water almost reached her knees, and she could feel the waves from the orca splashing onto her body. It quickly moved further into the sea and disappeared. The whole crowd cheered, but it was too soon to celebrate. Just a few hours later, while the rescue workers were still packing up their equipment, Lanik spotted something wading onto the beach from the sea. "Oh, no," she said out loud. She knew immediately that it was the orca again. Everybody rushed back into place and repeated the same steps, but this time the operation didn't last as long. There wasn't enough time. Half an hour into their efforts, the killer whale started struggling to breathe. Lanik stayed at the front of the orca, looking it deep into its eyes. She wanted to know what had driven it back to the beach. If only it could talk. Just a few minutes later, the orca took its final breath and stopped moving. Lanik checked its heartbeat and confirmed that the animal had died, but she didn't want its death to be in vain. She asked the rescuers to start transporting the orca back to her university. Less than a week later, Lanik was already leading a team to figure out why the orca had stranded itself on the beach. The incident happened at the end of October, and the doctors are still trying to understand what caused the whale to return to the shore. They will investigate its health, its diet, and where it originally came from. Lanik believes that their findings will help her assist other killer whales in the future, and she will share this information with the world once it's confirmed. What are your thoughts on this orca? What might have been on its mind, and what could it have hoped for from humans before its passing? Share your reflections in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, please show your appreciation by giving it a thumbs up and sharing it with your loved ones. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon to stay informed about our channel's latest updates. Thank you for your support.